Okay, so the relationships we're looking at is symbiotic relationships. So you want to tell them that these bacteria are living in conjunction with us. And we have a word for that. So sym means together, and bio means to live. So symbiosis is organisms that are living together in some kind of relationship. And a symbiotic relationship, it sort of implies that this is a normal relationship that is actually maintained and almost necessary. So it's not just a chance encounter, but these organisms are living together. And so it asks, is the existence of bacteria in our guts beneficial or harmful to us? Well, in the case of it making us obese, it could be harmful. In the case of disease, it could be harmful. But they need to recognize, and you can tell them, that there's all kinds of bacteria living in our guts all the time, and that those bacteria are actually beneficial to us. They manufacture vitamins, they help in some of our metabolism. They also outcompete bad bacteria that would want to take up shop there. So the bacteria that we have is actually really good for us. And in fact, you might point out to them that if we actually counted cells, there are more bacterial cells than there are human cells in a human body. So we are more bacteria than we are human. And so you might point out the two differences. So you can have a relationship where we benefit and the bacteria benefit. By the way, how do the bacteria benefit? Well, we're feeding them and giving them a little environment to live in. So we're giving them habitat and food. And so if both benefit, we call it mutualism. But on the other hand, if you have a bacteria that's bad, that's making you sick, then the bacteria is benefiting from being there, but you are being harmed, and that's called parasitism. Okay, so they are a parasite. And then you can share some really cool examples, and I want you to share these. So there's two examples in the instructor guide. One of them is the Echinococcus what is it? Oh my gosh, I think I spelled it wrong. Multiocularis. And this is one that gets into a mouse, and when it's in the mouse, it actually makes the mouse obese. So it's one of these bacteria that causes their metabolism to change, and it makes the mouse obese. And the reason it does this, I'm sorry, not a bacteria, it's a tapeworm. It makes the mouse obese so the mouse becomes slow, and then the mouse gets caught and eaten by a fox, and the fox actually, that's where the rest of the life cycle gets completed. So the tapeworm needs the mouse to be eaten in order to complete its life cycle, and so it actually has evolved to make the mouse fat. The other one is this trematode worm that's just crazy. If you read that, it gets in, it does a life cycle between ant and sheep, but getting into the ant is pretty easy because the ant feed on the sheep's poo and they get into the ant, but getting back into the sheep is a little bit harder. So actually this particular parasite causes changes in the brain chemistry of the ant that makes it crawl up a little shaft of grass and bite on really tight and just hang on there until it gets eaten by a sheep. It's actually controlling their behavior. You could also play there's several different videos that'll show these kinds of relationships. Okay, and so at the end I want you to actually cover those other relationships. So the other ones, we've got other ones that are plus minus, so it could be parasitism, but it could also be predation. Okay, so like a lion and a gazelle. The lion's not a parasite, it's a predator. So predation and parasitism are a plus minus. The other ones are, what if one organism benefits and the other one doesn't care that it's there at all? Okay, and so we call that commensalism, and there's some good examples in your book, but like the dung beetle who eats the dung of the cow, but the cow doesn't benefit in any way, is commensalism. Or you have like the oxpecker that sits on the back and catches bugs as the herd is moving and the bugs are coming up out of the grass. They're catching the bugs, but the oxen don't really care that they're there. You can have the other way around where someone is harmed and there's no benefit to the other one. This one is harder to explain. It's called amensalism or amensalism. It's harder to explain because they aren't really symbiotic relationships. They're not relationships that are maintained. But like if elephants are clodding along and they're killing all the plants in their path, it's not benefiting the elephant to do so, but it's harming the plant. And then the last one is competition. And competition, a lot of people like to think of competition as plus minus. There's a winner and there's a loser. Hold on one second.